Write this in my simplified form, 10 times the square root of 2. Okay, there are a set of homework problems for you to do. All of the ones that are numbered, so here we've got 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You need to go ahead and do those. Please make sure that you're showing work. If you need to ask your neighbor for assistance, that is fine, but make sure you're allowing them to get their work done also. So pause the video, and there's more, another section, or two actually, after this. They're a lot shorter, so pause the video, and then when you get done, go ahead and restart and do the next parts. The next section is to do the same thing, but this time we have fractions. So when we're doing square roots of fractions, in order to simplify these radicals, we can just break down the square root, break down the fraction into two different we're going to put the square root on both parts of the fraction. I guess that's what I need to say. So we can do square root of 16 over the square root of 36. Well, square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 36 is 6. 4 times 4 is 16. 6 times 6 is 36. So I have 4 6. But that's not reduced, so I need to go ahead and reduce that even more. 4 6 reduces to 2/3. On the right-hand side, we have square root of 1/4. So we're going to break this apart into the square root of 1 over the square root of 4. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. I can't reduce the half anymore, so that's it. There are a few of these to do. All you do is square root of 4, square root of 9. Write your fraction in simplest form. Make sure you're showing your work. Work would consist of this steps, showing square root of 1 over square root of 4, and then the answer. Pause and work on these problems, and when you get done, please restart. This one has a little bit more to it. You have to simplify the radical, or simplify the square root, and then multiply by whatever's on the outside. So we have 5 times the square root of 36. So what I need to do is figure out what's the square root of 36. Square root of 36 is 6, so I'm just going to do 5 times 6. And that's 30. So you have to simplify always as much as you can. We have, on the other side, 2 times the square root of 28. So we need to break down 28. It is not a square number, so we have to break this 28 apart. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that like we started the lesson earlier. So 2 times 14, I can break apart 22 into. 4 times 7, can break that apart like that. Yeah, I think that's it. 2 times 14 doesn't contain a square number, neither one of those are square, but 4 times 7, the 4 is a square number, so I'm going to use 4 times 7. So I'm just going to rewrite this. I've got a 2 in the front, and instead of 28, I'm going to do 4 times 7 underneath the square root sign. Then I go ahead and break this part apart like we did earlier. Just leaving my 2 in front for now. It doesn't really do anything yet. Square root of 4, and then I break this apart, square root of 7. I can simplify the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So I've got this 2 that I already had out there, just bringing it down. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 7, I can't simplify anymore, so I'm just leaving it as the square root of 7. Now I simplify what's outside the radical if I can. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then I'm just going to write square root of 7. So this is a little tricky. You have to make sure that you remember that one that's in the front and always keep bringing it down. On this one, we're going to simplify. First, we've got the square root of 81. So square root of 81 is 9. Square root of this 81 is also 9. In this problem, both of my square root signs disappear. So I don't need to worry about them anymore. So I have 2 times 9 times 9. 9 times 9 is 81. 81 times 2 would be 162. So this most simplified is 162. This one I have 6 times the square root of 8 times the square root of 12. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my 6 out front. Don't need to do anything with it. Now I have to figure out what am I going to do with this 8 and what am I going to do with this 12. I can break 8 apart into 4 times 2. So that would break down even farther into square root of 4 times square root of 2. Then I need to break my 12 apart. I can break that apart into 4 times 3. So I'm going to do the square root of 4 times 3. 4 square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So these two numbers are representing my square root of 8. And over here, this is representing my square root of 12. Sorry. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the 6 the same. I can't do anything with it yet. Then I just go one by one and see if I can break them down. Square root of 4 is 2, so I write that there. That square root of 4 turned into a 2. You'll notice that its square root sign totally disappeared. I can't do square root of 2, so I have to rewrite the whole square root of 2. Next, I have another square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Last, I have a square root of 3. I can't simplify a square root of 3, so I have to bring down that whole square root of 3. I'm going to multiply all of the numbers that are not underneath a square root sign. So that would be my 6 times 2 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Then what I can do is multiply the numbers that are underneath square root sign. So I can do square root of 2 times the square root of 3. The square root sign just stays there. But then I multiply the 2 times the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So my answer for this one is 24 times the square root of 6. Tricky, tricky. So we're going to go ahead and try that. On square root of 8, we can break that apart into 4 times 2. Square root of 32, I could break that apart into 8 times 4. But then I'm going to have to break apart that 8 again. So I need to think of something bigger than 8 times 4. Oh, how about 16 and 2? 16 times 2 is 32. So 16 times 2. Then I'm going to go ahead and break these apart. Square root of 4 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 16 times the square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2. Can't do anything with this square root of 2. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 2, can't do it, so I'm leaving this as square root of 2. So I multiply my numbers that are outside of square root signs. 4 times 2 is 8. Then I multiply my numbers that are underneath square root signs. So I've got a 2 and a 2. What's this 2 times 2? You're right, that's 4. So now I've got another square root of 4. I can't leave this as square root of 4 because I know, and you know, that the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm breaking this square root of 4 down into a 2. Then I go ahead and multiply. So 8 times 2 is 16. Since there's no more square root signs, I know that I've got it worked out as much as I can. On the right, we have square root of 2 times the square root of 8. We know that we can't do anything with the square root of 2, so we're going to focus on the square root of 8. Square root of 8 we can break apart into 4 times 2, or square root of 4 times square root of 2. To remember to bring down this square root of 2 also. The only one I can simplify is this one in the middle. So I'm going to bring down my square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2. But bring down this square root of 2. Now I combine the terms that are not underneath the square root sign and that are underneath the square root sign. I've only got this 1, 2, so I'm just going to write it out there in the front. Then I have my square root of 2 and my square root of 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, so this is going to change into a square root of 4. And again, just like we did over here, we need to break this 4 down into a 2, because square root of 4 is 2. So this is the same thing as 2 times 2, or just plain old 4. Okay. If you need need, like if you didn't get that last section and you need to pause, take a second to breathe, go back and rewind and rewatch the last 5 minutes or so, then you might want to go ahead and do it before we start this part. This is when you have parentheses and an exponent on the outside. So what this means, anything to the third power means you're going to multiply that thing, in this case that's 2 times the square root of 5, times itself 3 times. So all this means is 2 times the square root of 5 times 2 times the square root of 5 times 2 times the square root of 5. Okay, we can do this. It's just like what we did a minute ago. When they're next to each other like this, if you want to go ahead and write it out with the dots in between there, that's okay. Then we put our ones that are not underneath square root signs. We go ahead and put those together. So we're going to do, 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So now I have 3 sets of a square root of 5 that I still need to use. So I multiply the numbers underneath there. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Then I'm going to go ahead and break that apart. The 125, I know I can break down.